Yep.
What's up, BK Squad?
It's your girl Tori.
And I'm your girl Lauren.
And today we are back with another video.
Alright, so today's video is going to be a cooking video.
Cooking with the King Twins.
Yes, cooking with the King Twins. So tonight's meal, we're going to be having honey balsamic vinaigrette glazed salmon.
Salmon, yes.
Yes. And for the side, we're going to have broccoli, steamed broccoli,
And basmati rice.
and basmati rice, which, by the way, is my favorite rice.
Yep.
If anybody knows anything about tzatziki and Mediterranean
That's the
food,
kind of rice
that's
they
the
use.
rice that they use, and it's amazing. So now we are going to start off with the meat first. We're going to get the salmon cooking first before we start with the sides.
Yes,
So,
sides.
of course, first thing we did was wash our hands.
And I just put on a little more hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
I just touched my hand.
So now Victoria is going to cut the salmon up into pieces, and then we're going to start seasoning. So there are going to be 2 sessions of seasoning. So this first session of seasoning, the phase 1, is going to be all of them aren't here. We're missing something. Hold on. So for phase 1 of seasoning, of course, pepper, salt. We're gonna be using
Sea salt.
Lowry's,
Lowry.
sea salt, which is healthier, but kind of not healthy when we put in the Lowry's seasoning salt. And then onion powder, minced onions, and garlic powder. So that's gonna be phase 1 of the seasoning.
And if you know us, we don't care what it is, you got to put garlic in it, point blank, period.
Garlic on
Period.
everything. Period. Yes. So we're gonna start with that, but first we're gonna start off with Victoria just cutting the salmon into sections.
So I'm going to cut it in 3s because it's 3 of us.
Yes.
So, because this side is a little slim, I'm gonna make this side wider, and then So, start right here. I'm just gonna cut that like that. I think this is a decent sized piece of fish.
It is.
It's actually kind of small, so we'll probably still end up sharing. But for right now, we're just gonna do it like this. And I'll probably cut some of this off later and put it with this one. But for right now, we're just gonna leave it in these 3 pieces. So there are 3 pieces.
So now we're gonna start seasoning. I would like to say my own special way of what I choose to put on first. I always start with salt and pepper first, and then I top everything else off. So for some reason, comment down below, when you season, do you start with pepper? Because mentally, for me, pepper just for some reason is what I do first. So we're gonna start. Oh, and what you don't want to do is dry the salmon completely out, because what happens is, and this is just from experience, I've never taken a cooking class, but I would like to say that I'm a very good cook and I've learned different techniques to keep your meat tenderized. Oh, so if you dry it out too much, the seasonings tend not to stick to the meat, especially if you have not taken the time to season your meat a couple hours before to let it marinate. The easiest way to keep the seasonings all into the meat, if you didn't have a chance to marinate, is to just make sure there's some type of moisture so that the seasonings stick. So we're gonna start off with the little pepper. One thing that I've also learned in my cooking journey is that do not put too much pepper, because once you eat it, you will be coughing, because it can become very spicy, like I just did on that one. So I start off with the pepper, and let me just grab a spoon, because sometimes if I feel like there's too much seasoning in one spot, I will move it around. And I did leave my seasoning brush at my parents' house, but I normally would have a seasoning brush that you could brush it around, but for now I just have a spoon. So you want to just, if there's too much in one spot, because you want the same taste all around, you don't want to get the one bite and it's a little strong.
I thought I had bought a brush. Maybe I was dreaming.
I don't think so. So you just want to move it around and make sure it's even, like so. Especially with pepper, because like I said, if you get one section that has too much pepper, it will be spicy.
Fun fact, when Valoria cooks, she tends to make things spicy. Especially when she bakes. Like tilapia is sometimes very spicy. So I think over the years she's learning that And I think it was because it's her. She cannot eat spicy stuff all the time now, so she has to control that.
Now I have to control it. Before, okay,
Yes.
if it's spicy, still good, but okay, now can't do it. So now we're gonna move on to seasoning salt. You don't want to do a lot of seasoning stuff because this
It's salty.
a little goes a long way. I'll just say that a little goes a long way. So we're gonna do 2 on each one and keep it moving. That is all. Do not do any more.
And I'm gonna just sit the camera back up, guys.
And like I said, because we didn't get a chance to marinate the seasonings, I'm just rubbing them in. This is just the extra step. You do not have to do this. Some people season and go. Now with my chicken, I don't know if this is old school or not, but the way I season my chicken, it goes in the sink, put them all in the sink, and do your hand motions. But for stuff like this, when I get a little bit fancy, I will do this. Just depends on how I feel.
I'm sorry, y'all. I can't get the
All right. So next,
steady.
we're going to move on to the seasoning salt. And again, do not do too much because when you're using more than one salt, if you're not careful, it can be hazardous. So just a little. We're just sprinkling just a little. And we're moving on. That's it. Moving on. Now, we are going to move over to the garlic powder.
My favorite part.
Her favorite part, the garlic.
My favorite part.
So, garlic powders and onion powders, they have more of the taste of the actual product, the actual garlic and onions. It's not really a salty thing. Now, if you use garlic salt, that is salty. The garlic powder, it just gives you the taste of the garlic.
Did you use onion powder already?
Not yet.
Okay.
And I'm
follow
gonna get to
behind
that.
you.
So, the reason I use the onion powder last and the minced onion is because you want to put your textures on last. Everything else, aside from the sea salt has a harder, crunchier texture to it. But you want to put the powders on first, and you want to top it off with the textures last, which is why I put the minced onions on last. So we're gonna top it off with minced onions, and just be mindful. We want to even it out again. This is just phase 1 of the seasoning, like I said, because we have a whole nother, we have a whole nother phase for seasoning, but that's after the salmon is pretty much cooked.
Push this on it.
So we're going to shake some onion powder onto the salmon, and Victoria is just going to press that in a little bit just to get it in.
Good in there.
So when we cook it, it's in there and it gets inside the salmon. Also, another fun fact, which I will show you once we put the salmon on the stove, because this will be sauteed stovetop. So, fun fact is, actually it's not even a fun fact, this is just a quick tip for you, that when you're cooking any type of meat, to get your juicy flavors inside the meat so that you have tasty flavors in each bite, create little slits in the meat.
I was
as
just
you
about
cook
to say,
it.
or you could take a fork and kind of like poke holes in it.
Yes.
That way the seasoning can get
seep through into the inside.
So,
yeah.
which way do you want to do it? You'll do the fork, or you want to?
We can poke holes in it. That's fine.
Okay.
We'll play by ear. So we're gonna move on to the next side because we did not season the other side of the salmon. So that is what we're going to do now. So we're just gonna flip it over. And we're just gonna do the same thing. So we're gonna speed this along, and we're just gonna do the same thing that we did the first time. Okay, guys, so now we're going to prep the stove. So I'm just going to turn the oven on. I'm going to grab olive oil. Olive oil is a really good oil to cook with when you're making different meats. So I'm just going to add some olive oil. And that was quick. This heats up really fast.
It does.
But we're just
Very
gonna
fast.
Add some olive oil. And what I do sometimes, depending on what I'm cooking, I will add a little seasoning to the olive oil before I add the meat, because sometimes some of the seasonings can get lost.
You want the onion?
So I'm just gonna add the onion powder and the garlic powder. Everything else should be okay.
We don't need any more salt.
No more salts. Because you don't want it to be, you know, too salty. Was there a fork over there?
I put it in the sink. You can get another one.
Okay. So,
Where get the spatula?
I'm just going to mix the olive oil around. Let it heat up a little bit. And it doesn't really take too long to heat up, so I just want to get it to the place where the salmon will immediately start cooking as soon as you put it in. So we want to heat this olive oil up.
It smells so good.
Yeah, by the way, you're not here, but
it smells so good.
Smells good
and
already.
It's not even cooked yet. It smells so good.
Can you smell it, Keita?
No.
She said she can't smell it. So we're going to go ahead and throw the first one in.
I'm going to do the biggest one first because I know that's going to take the longest to cook.
Yes.
So we probably can get 2 pieces in. So we're going to do the 2 biggest ones. And lay that on in there like that. Y'all hear it?
Sizzle.
Yeah, we can only do 2.
So we can only do 2 at a time for right now. So we'll cook the first 2. Then before we start phase 2 of the other seasoning, we're going to just put these aside until the next one is cooked.
Let y'all get a closer look. So this is...
Ooh!
Salmon.
It smells so good, y'all.
It does.
It smells so good.
So, and salmon does not take a long time to cook at all. I do like to let it get a little brown.
Yeah. So that means don't walk away for 20 minutes.
Exactly.
Because it does not take long at all to cook. At all.
Because you can already see
Yeah.
that the color has already changed.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So while the salmon is still cooking, Victoria is going to get started on the sides. Yes. So you don't want to start your sides when you start your meat because your sides, of course, if you're making like vegetables and rice, like stuff that cooks quickly, you want to do that when your meat is almost finished. So that's what I'm doing now. I lightly salted the rice. You want to put, you don't put a lot of water in your vegetables because, yeah. But for your rice, you want to add a little more because that water is going to cook out. So you need a lot of water for your rice. But I like to lightly season it first just so that it can get to cooking inside of the rice. And I tend to add a little butter to my broccoli, but I season it, but I don't season it until after the broccoli is done because that's easier to season. But with the rice, I kind of pre-season it a little bit before it gets to cooking. So that's what I'll be doing. Our salmon is almost done. When these 2 are done, we're going to put the last one in. But it, like we said, it doesn't take long at all. So that's what we're doing right now. All right, guys. So we will be back when it's time for phase 2 for the salmon. So for the second part of seasoning the salmon, we will be using honey. We'll be using a balsamic vinegar glaze. We'll be using soy sauce. We actually won't be using olive oil. That's just still in the mix. But yes, we'll be using the soy sauce, the balsamic glaze, the honey, and we'll also be using a lemon. Cool. So, now for the glaze, you don't want to have your stove on high because you don't want the glaze to overcook. But we're going to start off with honey. We're going to put a good amount of honey because you have to have enough for all 3 pieces of salmon. So you want to put some honey. You add just a little bit of soy sauce because if you do too much soy sauce, it's not going to be right. So I'm going to get just a little soy sauce. Now you want to add the balsamic glaze. It's a little hard to squeeze. Okay. And you want to squeeze some lemon.
or you can use lemon juice, however, you know, doesn't matter what. Squeeze a little bit of that. And we're going to just stir it together. Like I said, you don't want the oven to be too high. Usually what I put in my broccoli, I put the, which I already put some in, the garlic powder. If you want that good, I don't know what's a good crab place. Whatever seafood place y'all go to, if y'all want that kind of broccoli, you must add the garlic powder. I add onion powder. I use seasoning salt. I do add a dab of Creole to give it that seafood type of taste. Y'all, you ain't cooking butter. You don't put butter. You're not cooking broccoli if you don't put butter in that broccoli. You have to put the butter. That just gives it a whole different taste. So you want to add all of those seasonings and add the broccoli. Add the butter in and stir it. Okay, so now when you think that you've gotten the glaze where you want it to be, what you're going to do is you're just going to put the salmon back into the mixture. If I can grab it. You'll put it back into your mixture. And right now I have this oven on, or stove on low. And actually, I think I can fit
all three.
This last piece.
Now that it's cooked.
Wonderful.
It's shrunk a little.
Yep. So we're gonna turn the oven up just a little bit. Don't go overboard. Don't go past 5. So what you want to do is you just want to let the sauce marinate. And because I had it on low, it's gonna take a little second to get a little bit hotter. But you just want to just let the salmon marinate in your sauce, and you'll just gently just glide the glaze over your salmon, like so. And it's heating up a little bit, so I'm gonna cut it down because I don't want it to overcook.
We just want it to stay warm until our sides finish. Mainly the rice, because the broccoli is done.
And you want it to cool a little bit just because you want your glaze to harden a little bit so you can get that candy coated texture. But like I said, you just, you know, take the coat. And you'll just let this sit for a few minutes. So we're just going to let this sit for a few minutes and then we'll be back. Okay, so we've already added the rice to the plate. So now we're just going to be taking the salmon that we glazed, and we're just going to take it and place it. And we still have broccoli. So we're going to take a little bit of broccoli. We're going to add the broccoli. And we're going to take our good old basil that we love so much. And we're just going to sprinkle some basil on top. This is our first cooking video, y'all. So we hope that you liked it. Remind you guys, we are not professionals, but this is the way that we cook. Yes. And it's still good. Yes. So, once again, we have the sides, the broccoli, rice, and then we have our, there's a lot of names in this. Honey balsamic glazed salmon. Yes. So, thank y'all for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Comment down below what videos you guys would like to see from us. Yes. And we'll be back with another video. Peace.